obviously just being a threat wherever I can on the pitch and just getting, instead of just staying out on the wing.
How much of playing wing is strength versus pace?
I think it's good to have a good mixture, to have a balance, to know how to still be fast, but to also have that strength to break through tackles, because there's really, in the modern game, there's really chances that you have open field to just to run. There's always going to be defenders in front of you, and you'll always have to either go through or around them. So it's always to have a good balance.
So what would you say the main attributes are for a player to play wing? If you said, to be able to play wing, you need to do this, this, and this. What would you say they are?
Obviously, to be fast, but if you're not fast, it's just to have that killer instinct to recognise space and to make the most of space. There's a lot of wingers now that are a bit, probably not as quick, but very strong, and they hold their balance well and very agile. So I think the main thing is to have a bit of speed, but also to still be strong and to be agile.
Awesome. Is there a difference in playing 11 and 14?
All depends really. For myself, playing on I mainly play on the left wing, just because I'm right-handed. I like to make an outside break, and I feel like breaking out to my left side is the stronger, my strongest side. So and obviously being right-handed, it's my strongest arm to push off defenders. So for me, that's how I feel about playing on the left-hand side. The right-hand side is, a lot of people probably the opposite to me. They're stronger to go out to the right-hand side. But if I was to play right, I'd like to use my step more, which is a right foot step.
How much communication is in the back line between the two wingers and the fullback?
We try to communicate as much as we can, just because we're so far apart from each other. We try to cover a lot of the field between three players in the back. You sort of like, it's that you try and yell and try and get your point across, tell him that you're there, but a lot of it is eye contact and making sure that he's there.
How much does your gum shield affect you shouting to people?
It does, but I think if you brought up for the younger grades, you sort of get used to it, and it's always good.
Okay. What's your training regime like then for a winger? Does it differ a lot to other positions? Is it more sort of cardio sprint based?
For wingers, like you said, there's a lot of there has to be a good balance between speed and power. So we do a lot of short bursts. We don't really do too much endurance. A lot of the endurance is done through pre-season, and then we try and top up on our speed and agility and power throughout the season. So we pretty much train as a backline together, but then we sort of top up on our conditioning days with a bit of extra speed and agility.
How does your diet build around that then? Is there any no-nos? As it stops here, curry and bear completely off the list.
We do have our guidelines of what to eat and what not to eat, and what to drink and what not to drink, and when we should be eating, and carb loading and stuff like that. So I think there's like pretty much generally the bigger lads and sort of the more leaner lads have different diets, but mainly we all sort of do the same thing.
How many calories would you say you eat a day then on average, and how many meals would that split into?
I'm not even sure, mate. That's a very good question. I think I try and eat the main three main meals of the day. Breakfast is a big part of it. Everyone, you learn that from a young age. We try and top up with our snacks. Our snacks are quite, because we're training so much, we try and get the carbs in after trainings and when we're doing heavy loads. So snacks are very important as well.
Awesome. Do you have any exercises that help prevent injury, especially sort of around knees, shoulders, neck, ankles, them prime areas that rugby players tend to get hurt?
Yeah, there's I've been struggling a little bit with my hamstrings recently. There's a good exercise that I do, just leg extensions, but having chin to chest, which helps activate the neural system, and sometimes it helps with those hammy injuries, and just making sure that they're all switched on, especially being a sprinter, and you need all those your hammies, your glutes all firing to not get injured.
How critical would you say then are warm-ups and cool-downs to a match, especially after playing? Do you think it's more important if you play longer in the match, or?
Warm-ups are a big part of it. I think warm-ups are the main thing. You sort of build up to a peak and managing that and trying to measure that as well as you can, so that by the time you start the game, you're flying. Cool downs are different throughout different teams. With us, it's sort of like we do a lot of just a recovery protocol. We have our ice baths and stuff like that going on. Wearing our compression shorts, and we pretty much warm down again on it's called the recovery day, on the day after our match, which is a small jog, a swim, and another ice bath, which isn't very fun.
How do you mentally prepare yourself for a match then? Sort of when you're in the changing room, does that change at international level?
It depends really. For me, it's internationally, it's a peak that you can play. You really have to be switched on. You don't want to distract anyone else, you have to have the right frame of mind. But then again, you have to know what suits you. Everyone's different. You have to understand what's going on around you, but try not to just prepare yourself to whatever suits you really. So for me, it's like I listen to music and try not to think about the game too much, so I don't play it over too much in my head before the game actually kicks off.
Okay, last couple of questions. Who's the hardest team you've played against, sort of at both levels, say at club and international?
I think club, probably most toughest team I played against wasn't not this year, but the years gone by, when I actually stood up and looked around. I was like thinking, holy cow, these guys are really good. Was Sale Sharks back when Jason Robinson was playing for them. Charlie Hudson, I think they were the champions back then, and they absolutely demolished us at home at Majeski Stadium. So for me, that was probably the most toughest game that I've played against, as in the Premiership back at that time. Internationally, there's always a lot of tough teams out there, and I've had a tough game against Wales. South Africa was very tough. It was a big game for us. But a lot of those top tier nations are, they're all tough. But that's something that we strive to measure ourselves. You can only measure yourself when you're playing against the best, really.
Awesome. Who would you say is the best winger in the world, in the world, and why? What makes them stand out as that's
I think for me, Rupini Tata was someone that I always looked up to. Someone that was you couldn't explain how he got so good. But currently, watching the Autumn International, especially after that England game, Julian Sever, he's a big lad, strong, he's fast, he's got all the attributes you need to be a top quality winger, and he shows that every week. He scored 2 tries on the weekend, and I think he's only going to get better. He's still only very young.
Awesome. Last question: how quickly can you run the 100 metres?
Well, the last time I ran 100 metres was a few years ago now. I think I got about 11 flat. So that was the last time I ran 100 metres. I try to stay away from it just for pride's sake now.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.